Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Music Spectrum podcast. My name is Ron Glista. Welcome to 2021. Thank God 2020 is out of the way. We're on to a new year. We're on to bigger and better things. And for my first podcast of the year, I couldn't ask for a better guest. I tell you that right now. Such a great guy. If you don't know who this guy is, I'm going to tell you a little snippet about him, and I'm going to let everybody else hear from himself about himself. I have Mr. Tug Sanner here on my podcast tonight. How you doing, Tug?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Now, those of you who don't know Tug is the absolute best brother-in-law from the state of Ohio a guy can ask for. That's a KL line right there, isn't it?
That it is.
Tug is my brother-in-law, and Tug, the reason why I'm having him on here, he has a huge catalog of music that he loves, and that's why I wanted to have him on here. But welcome, Tug. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Hey, born and raised Boardman, Ohio. Traveled the country in my younger days. Couple degrees in college from University of Idaho, and love the outdoors. But came back to Youngstown in 2004 and started selling Harley Davidsons and moved on to cars in 2008. And I sell Subarus, but mostly I'm a huge Deadhead, and I love music on all kinds of different levels. And it's a hobby of mine. And but I have a beautiful family. My wife Susie, our two boys Bo and Keegan, and just proud to be a Boardman resident.
That is awesome. And what's nice is if I ever need something or you ever need something, we can literally throw a football back and forth to each other because you're really right down the street.
Totally. I drive down your street every day. To see the leg lamp in the window during the holidays is huge. I love it.
Well, I appreciate that, man. That's I take pride in putting that up every year. Trust me.
Yeah.
But the holidays are over now. It had to come down, so it'll be boxed up until next year. But anyway, so you mentioned that you're a Deadhead. You're a Grateful Dead fan. What started that for you? Where did that come from in your life? Where were you at in your life that, you look back now and like, this was a starting or a defining moment that said, you know what, I'm a fan of these guys?
It's real easy. I can remember it like yesterday. So I was a huge, your wife turned me on to Pink Floyd. Okay. So I would say the late 80s going into the early 90s, I was a huge Pink Floyd fan. Huge. Okay. Just the Wall. That's all I knew was the Wall. Okay. And it was just so different, and it was political, and it was provocative, and it wasn't squeaky clean, but that turned into an era I'm sure you're very aware of was the Seattle scene. So grunge.
All the grunge music. Yep, absolutely.
So I wasn't a big fan of the big hair stuff, man. I didn't like it. Guys dress up like chicks and singing about bullshit. I didn't like it. Like Enough's Enough and Motley Crue and, Guns N' Roses was good because they were edgy.
Yeah.
I like that edge. You know what I mean? So I loved Alice in Chains. I loved Pearl Jam. I went and saw Pearl Jam in 1994 at Cleveland Convocational Center for the 10 album. It was an unbelievable concert.
And that's a kick-ass album too to see.
15 rows from that stage to see, those guys come out. It was incredible. That was a big change in my music sense. So I was like grunge. I graduated high school. I went to college at Akron for a golf scholarship, and I failed out miserably because I partied my face off and I had so much fun. So I come home and I have a buddy that I haven't seen since freshman year in high school, Jason McConnell. He's like, "What's up, dude?" I'm like, "Hey, man, wow, cool. I haven't seen you forever." And we started hanging out, and I'm listening to Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and, um, you know, some old stuff too, like Black Sabbath, Ozzy, Metallica. Like I'm into that heavy scene, right? Not so much like a hip hop or anything like that,
Okay.
which came later, but I was into that scene. He's like, "Well, listen, man, you should probably listen to this tape." And he gave me a tape. And if you know anything about the Grateful Dead, the Deadheads, we trade tapes, man. It's like your favorite concert, your favorite songs. Like, here, you take this and you tape it and then give it back.
Okay.
So he gave me a tape and it had this song called Estimated Profit on it. And I listened to it in my car and I was like, this is pretty awesome. Okay. This is good stuff. This is something I've never heard before. So he turned me on, period.
Okay.
If it wasn't for him, I really wouldn't have had that music in my life. So that's where it started. Was 1994. Like the first couple months in 1994, I was turned on to them, and that's where it began.
That's cool. And it's funny because that's all it takes is one person or one thing introducing you to something different that you've never heard before. And then boom, you can get hooked. And it doesn't take much. It's just like you said, you were always listening to a certain genre, you're always into this, and in a flip of a switch, somebody gives you something new, and bam,
Yep.
you're changed, you're done, you're ready to go.
Yep. Yeah. It was something so different that I never heard before. It was something so weird. And I like weird. I like fun. I like adventure. And that's what that music was. It was weird. It was good. It was, at least as far as I could hear, like the live stuff was cool, but the stuff like the stuff in the studio, the produced stuff was really just so weird and different. And I loved it. So that's what turned me on.
That's cool. Now, did that prompt you to go out and start buying their other tapes or trying to trade for their other music? Because obviously they've had music before 1994 when you first heard them.
Yes. So I just went nuts on buying CDs. So there's a really cool old record store in North Lima that doesn't exist anymore called Purple Frog Records. Do you remember that?
I remember it. Yes.
Okay, right on Route 7 before you get, right in the center of North Lima. So we'd go in there. Of course, we'd go in and we'd smoke a little bit, and then we'd go into Purple Frog. And dude was a long-haired hippie like Cheech Marin or Tommy Chong
Yeah.
running the show. And we're like, "Yeah, man, we want some Grateful Dead discs, CDs." And he's like, "Oh, dude, I have everything you would ever want." So one by one, what I could afford, I would buy. And it was all studio stuff. It wasn't really live, but it was studio and it was crazy. And I loved it, man. It was just such a great mix of where my head was at the time and what the music offered.
Okay. I could see that. And like you explain a little bit, of where you're at in your college life and stuff like that. I can see how you
Yeah,
can relate to that. Absolutely.
right.
So you're buying all these albums, and I mean, to me, I'm not a huge Grateful Dead fan. I know a handful of their songs, but what was the one song you already mentioned? The one song a friend of yours shared with you, but what was the one song for you that um, was like maybe your defining moment of yes, this is my band. I love these guys, and I'm glad I'm listening to all their music. Was there a certain song that just did it for you?
So everyone knows Touch of Grey.
Yes.
I will survive. Bum, 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 bum,
And
bum,
I know
bum.
that that's part of the one that I know.
Right? Everyone knows that song. That is the only top 10 hit that the Grateful Dead ever had. The Grateful Dead, which at this point, the existing members, Bob Weir, has played the most live on stage performances of any performer of all time. Think about that.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. That's crazy. He has played the most in front of a live audience more than anybody in the music industry.
Does the dude take a day off?
He does. He works out and eats quinoa and whatever. So, but everybody knows that song, okay? And it was a good song and whatever. But there's so many underlaying and layers of the Grateful Dead. Ron, if it wasn't for the Grateful Dead, I would have never explored reggae music. I would have never explored country western like Merle Haggard, okay? Waylon Jennings, Marty Robbins, El Paso. In the old town of El Paso, I met a girl, just crazy old stuff that they covered, okay? They were not only an original band, but they covered a lot of the old stuff that no one knew. I would have never been turned on to jazz. Okay. Winston Marsalis himself toured with the Dead for a whole year in 1989, who is an accomplished tenor saxophonist, who is, his brother, Winston Marsalis, is just nuts. I mean, he's the best. I would have never been turned on to that stuff. I never would have been turned on to the old traditional songs. And here's where we have a connection, you and I. Whiskey in a Jar, okay? That is a 500-year-old song. That song is 500 years old. That is not Metallica. That is not Grateful Dead.
Nope.
That is not Rat Dog. That is not the Pizza Tapes. That is an old song that no one knows who wrote it. So that's really cool stuff. So I've never would have been turned on to all these different genres of music if it wasn't for the Dead, because they covered all that stuff. It's just crazy. It's nuts.
Well, if you look at the Grateful Dead, what if you had to pinpoint or put one genre attachment to their type of music, what would you call their type of music?
So recently, there's been a documentary, a six episode documentary done by Martin Scorsese. Okay.
Yep.
And Billy Kreutzmann's son, Bill Kreutzmann. That's one of the drummers for the Dead. They did this 6-episode thing on Amazon called A Long Strange Trip. Okay. They, at the beginning of that documentary, explain the Grateful Dead as American music, not rock and roll, not bluegrass, not country, not jazz influence, not jam band. Okay. It's American music. They're probably the greatest American music band that has ever existed. And that's coming from a guy like Martin Scorsese. I mean, we all know who he is.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good explanation. It's good American music. And when Jerry died, okay, when Jerry died in 1995, I remember Bill Clinton coming on the TV, and he said, "We lost a good person today." And the Grateful Dead was a version of a way for a young person to travel the country and hitchhike across the country and live that adventurous lifestyle and just do what you want and have that adventure. He offered that. The Grateful Dead offered that.
And what's funny is you just made that comment, me knowing you when we first met, when I first started dating your sister, I didn't really know who you were because you weren't around. You, I believe, were about to or already over in the state of Idaho, right?
Yeah, yeah. I just got back from the Bahamas and Southern Ohio, and I was headed out west.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So you're basically taken from what their music is telling you to do, and you were going out, traveling the country, traveling the world, you know, and going to different places, and wherever it takes you, it takes you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, my education took me there,
Yeah.
but that that whole genre and that lifestyle kind of went with me as well. Um, and there's Ron. I could talk for 3 fucking hours, brother. Okay, because um, you know, a lot of what Jerry, and I'll refer to him because he was the man. He was the reason for the Grateful Dead, him and Pigpen. But Jerry was a big fan of Jack Kerouac. He read On the Road, which I don't know if you've ever read that book. I've read that book. It's a weird run-on sentence about a guy named Dean Moriarty, who traveled the country working these odd jobs and just hitchhiking and jumping on trains and living a jazz lifestyle and smoking pot, high on uppers, high on downers, up and down, up and down, up and down, and just living this like vagabond lifestyle.
Hmm.
And it was all about fun. It was all about the fixation of fun. And that's what Jerry always said. He goes, I just want to be here to have fun. And that's what they did. They just had fun. They found ways to have it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, have you? I know that you have, but I should say, how many times have you seen them in concert, the Grateful Dead?
So I've only seen him twice. I've
Okay.
only seen the Grateful Dead. Okay. There's many different versions of the Grateful Dead, but I've seen the Grateful Dead, which is only with Jerry. Okay. So I saw them in 1994 at Highgate, Vermont, which was a airfield. It was an airstrip.
Okay.
It was close to 200,000 people there.
Damn.
That's a lot of people.
No shit.
And Bob Dylan opened for them. Okay. And I remember I ate some acid and I was with my buddy Jay and his sister Becky, and we drove there in my Volkswagen and we set up our tents and we met people from Connecticut, and they were the coolest people in the world. They supplied us with food and drink because we weren't prepared. We
No.
weren't. I also remember my father, KL, he paid for that ticket. Jay showed up when I was at work and said, hey, I have this ticket for Tug. And he's like, well, did he pay you for it? And he's like, no. He's like, well, I'll pay you for it. How much is it? He's like, $65. He's like, okay. So my father, and I always tell him this, you paid for my first Grateful Dead concert. So we drove out there and it was an amazing show. They encored with a song called Liberty, which to this day is one of my favorite songs. It's very fitting for the current situation in our country. It's just a song about freedom. And
Okay.
it's an old song. It's a traditional song, Ron.
Okay.
No one ever wrote it. It just came about. There's no author. Ooh, freedom. Ooh, liberty. Oh, leave me alone. Gonna find my own way home. And that's Liberty. It's the coolest song, just the
Yeah.
coolest. And I can remember like watching this, and I'm fucked up on acid, bro. I'm seeing 3 shades of different stuff, like having the most fun of my life, right? So we drive home the next day, and we get home, and 2 weeks later, we had the opportunity to go to Three River Stadium for a Grateful Dead show. Okay. And I always tell this story if people want to know the story. I always tell the story. It was one of the weirdest things that ever happened. So I'm there with my buddy Jay and my other buddy Jay Mowry, and he's with his girlfriend, and I'm with my girlfriend at the time. Okay. So we're sitting on a blanket in the parking lot waiting for the show to start, right? And all the old heads and like the real nasty, gnarly Wookiee heads, like gross, whatever. They're going, Terrapin. Second half is going to be Terrapin Station. It's Terrapin Station. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. Okay. It's overcast. It's real dark. So I go on a little walk and I buy 5 balloons of nitrous. I don't know if you know what that is, but so nitrous, when you huff it, whoo, makes you feel good. Whippets. It's back in the day, it was called Whippets. Okay. So I buy 5 balloons of Whippets and give it to all the people that are sitting with us. And I shit you not, we're sitting there for like 5-10 minutes having a blast, and a fucking reporter from KDKA TV, black gal, walks up to us and goes, "Hey guys, how's the party going? How's the concert going?" And I'm like, "Whoa, wait, what?" You know, she's like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, Youngstown. So we're on camera huffing nitrous, having a blast, and she's asking us how we're having a good time. It was crazy. But anyway, that show was incredible. We had great seats. We were up close. The first half of the show was good. The second half, it began to rain. So something about a Grateful Dead show, in the interim between the first and the second half, they have a thing called Drums in Space, where the 2 drummers, Mickey Hart and Bill Kreutzmann, they go off on a drum solo. They go off like weird psychedelic stuff. And then they go into space, which the guys come back on the stage and play this weird psychedelic interim. It's the coolest thing. It's like 25 minutes of just nuts, you know?
Okay.
And then they go into their second half. They transfer into that second half. So all these kids are going, dude, Terrapin. They're going to play Terrapin. Well, it started to rain. So they played Box of Rain, Looks Like Rain, Mandolin in the Rain, and then went into Terrapin Station. And it was just like, and again, 2 hits of acid. I'm freaking out. Everybody's freaking out. The whole place is going nuts. It was one of the best shows I ever saw. It was fantastic. And then 2 shows later, that's when Jerry died. Well, 2 shows later was the final show in Chicago. And then he went into rehab and he died of a heart attack.
Okay.
Too many hamburgers, too much heroin, and that was it.
Wow.
Yep.
So that's fascinating to me that you could look back on that, regardless of what other substances you were taking, but how you can look back on that and you can describe to me in detail every single thing that happened at both of those shows.
Indeed.
That's cool. You know, and that's, you know, to me, that's what music does for me. You hear a certain song, or you hear, you know, a certain band, whatever song they're going to play on the radio, but they just start talking about a certain band or whatever, and it takes you back to a certain point in time, you know, and that's perfect how you just described all that, you know, because that was what 94 you said when you saw that?
That was 95.
95. So you
95.
were 18, 19 years old? Or maybe,
I was 19 or 20.
okay, because you're a
Yeah.
year older than me, so okay,
Yeah, I'm 45 now.
old man.
And think about it. Like guys like my boss who run the show, Rob Feldman, Borman Subaru, my man has seen Jerry well over 200 times. Well over 200.
That's
And he
impressive.
still tells me the first time he saw the Grateful Dead was at Red Rocks in Colorado, which is a famous venue, super famous venue, Red Rocks Amphitheater. And he said it was a life-changing situation. When he saw Jerry, he saw something he never saw before. His mind was opened and it changed his life forever. It's just that's the kind of effect that band and that man. And we're not cultists. We're not trying to say that Jerry's Jesus and all this stuff. It's just the guy had a different approach. He had a different thing to offer people who wanted to hear it. And one of his famous quotes was, he said, the Grateful Dead's like black licorice. A lot of people don't like black licorice. They hate it. But there's those people that love it, man. There's those people that just, I love black licorice. So that's kind of where that band fits in with me, man. Like I understand people are like, oh God, how do you listen to this stuff? It goes on and on forever and stuff. I'm like, yeah, but there's so many elements of it that you're not hearing, and I hear it, and that's the difference. And it's all good. It's all
Yeah,
good.
I,
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
People could look at me and be like, how the hell can you listen to Metallica? All the guitars and the loud music and the headbanging and the drums and it's just screaming to me. But like you said, for me, it hits something inside. It
Yeah.
makes me catch on to something and it does something for me. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about them. It clicks, it works, it makes me feel a certain way that I can't describe to you because you don't like them.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Now, what I liked when you said earlier was you called the Grateful Dead an American band, correct? Their
Mm-hmm.
genre of music, their
Yep.
American music.
Yep.
But how you described how, because of what they sang and what they played, turned you on to jazz, turned you
Yeah.
on to country western music, you know, that fascinates me because it's like if you would have never listened to the Grateful Dead when you were with your friend at college, you would have never been able to branch out to all these other genres of music. You'd have been maybe stuck in your ways and maybe just went off the beaten path just a little bit. But because you caught on to the Dead, now you're listening to all these other old country
Yeah.
western artists and
Yeah.
different jazz musicians and stuff.
Yep. So something I can't look forward to enough is Friday night at 7 o'clock on NPR is the Jazz Sofa. Okay. The Jazz Sofa is one of the greatest radio shows, and it's local.
Is
And
it?
they play traditional jazz music, you know,
Now it's
miles.
you said it's
Huh?
local. You said it's local. What channel is it on local?
88.5 WYSU.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Rick Popovich is his name. He's a good dude. He used to teach my boss at Harley how to play guitar. Okay. So from 7 to 10, I think it's 7 to 10, he's the DJ, and it's just traditional jazz music. I listen to it every Friday. Every Friday. Okay. Then on Sundays at 6, from 6 to 8, is the Thistle and Shamrock, which is a show on 88.5. And that's all traditional Irish, Scottish music. And you'll hear Whiskey in the Jar sung like you've never heard it before because it's such a traditional tune to those people. Okay. And it's just so interesting. And I'll hear songs like Peggy O, which Jerry and the Dead have sung forever, and that's a song about a ship captain who loves a girl who lives on land. Her name's Peggy O, and they sing about how I'm missing you, and you're so far away, I'm on the ship, oh pretty Peggy-O. It's just like you hear all this stuff. It's like, this is so weird. I've been listening to this for like so many years. I didn't know it was a traditional tune,
Mhm.
you know. And to go further, with the way the Grateful Dead is in any jam band, if you want to talk about jam bands like Mo, Widespread Panic, Lettuce, Fish, my God, Fish. These bands are crazy intelligent. They're beyond their means. These songs last 6 to 17 minutes or more. Okay. And it reminds me a lot of traditional or classical music. Beethoven, Mozart, Bach, Brahms, Puccini, Vivaldi. I can go on and on. Those songs last that long. And when those people were performing those songs, when Beethoven was performing his songs, he blew people's fucking minds. It was like heavy metal back in the day. I'm not kidding you. It was heavy metal back in the day. It was this crazy, weird shit that no one ever heard before that lasted forever, right? And that's what we call classical music today, is Beethoven, Brahms, Mozart, Vivaldi, Puccini. I can go on and on. It's stuff that blew people's minds, and that's kind of what jam bands are. They're this stuff that people just, you go listen to them live and you're like, fuck, this is nuts, dude.
So I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little out of my wheelhouse right now, and you're kind of scaring me because you're talking about stuff that I could honestly say I don't throw down jazz music every night on a Friday night in my house. Okay. But anyway, like you said, Fish, you consider them a jam band. Now,
Yeah.
when you hear them live and you hear them on an album, are they playing the same songs, the same length of time, or when they go live, they're just going off on stuff?
No, it's never the same way twice. So from 1994 to I would say 1998, I saw Fish probably more than 25 times.
Damn, bro.
Okay. That band is intense. Trey Anastasio is an intense guitarist. Fishman on drums is intense. It's just it's hard to explain. From 94 to 98, they were so old school funk, man. Like they had their own songs, but it was based in funk. And I used to go with Don Beachley, my cousin. You know Don.
I know, Don.
We saw a ton of shows together. We had a lot of fun together. And those shows were like, it was like the Grateful Dead crowd, but it was more refined. It wasn't as country. I don't know how to explain it. It was more like boiled down. Like we were dialed. My buddy Jay, especially, he was way into Fish, and he still is to this day. And I wish I would have seen them more the past couple years, because they still perform a ton,
Okay.
But those 4 years that I saw them, I mean, they were so good. And Ron, they had a ongoing chess match between the crowd and the band. So every show, at the first set, they would bring a person from up on stage from the crowd, and they would move these giant chess pieces. Like, okay, here's our move. All right, so pawn to pawn 2. And then at the second half, the band would do a chess match move. And they had an ongoing chess match for like 5 years.
No shit.
Till finally the band won. Which is, I mean, that's just the coolest thing. And they're from Burlington, Vermont. They're all PhDs in music. They're all brilliant, but They were really good. That was a really, really fun time for me.
That's cool though, because that's something you don't see from anybody
No.
now, having a fucking chess match with their audience, let alone for it to carry over for 5 years.
Yeah. And they just did it over the New Year's. They brought it back. So if you look up Fish, it's called Dinner and a Show. They offered live shows over New Year's Eve, and they had a chess match with the fans. It's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting.
Absolutely. I can honestly say, you know, if you've seen them about 25 times or so, that's more than I've seen Metallica. And I've seen
Yeah.
Metallica about 15, 16 times, but that's pretty cool.
Yep.
Now, you mentioned Pink Floyd earlier and brought up Jennifer, and she's the one that introduced you to them. What was it about Pink Floyd that turned you on to them? Was it that um, mysterious type music that they played that helped you with the Grateful Dead, or was it something different?
I think The Wall, it's a story. It's it's an album that's a story. And to follow it, it's dark, it's intelligent. And they went further on that. I mean, to this day, if you watch Roger Waters' The Wall, if you YouTube that, that is one of the most incredible live concerts I've ever seen. I had Susie watch it, and Susie's a indie music. You should have her on this podcast. Her background in indie music is incredible. The bands she has seen live that are just, it's weird shit. Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, Tug. She might scare me.
Yeah. I mean, it's out there. I mean, like some of her stuff, but she has a catalog of music that's, and she made me tapes back in the day when we were dating at Harley. Some of the coolest stuff I've ever heard in my life. But anyway, Pink Floyd was that psychedelic taste. Okay. It's psychedelic. It's not normal. It's not top 10 radio. It's not heavy metal. It's not pop music. It's some weird psychedelic shit. And it's based off psychedelic principles. Okay. Those guys were heavy into the psychedelics, LSD, mushrooms, marijuana. So, you know, their music reflects that, but yet it's timeless, man. Like that if you watch Roger Waters' The Wall today, like you should, if you haven't seen it, Ron, it's phenomenal. It's like a Broadway musical type production. It's fantastic.
And see, for me, I'm not a huge Pink Floyd fan, but I know their music. I'm just not a huge fan. And for me, growing up, almost, both of us almost being the same age, for me, the local channels around here
Yep.
would constantly pound
Good point.
Pink Floyd and Aerosmith and you name it, all the classic rock music into your head. And what's funny is,
Time, comfortably numb,
yes,
learning to fly. All the Pink Floyd tunes, they're all there on 102.9. Do you have
and
an
what
E?
and what and what's
Yeah.
funny is 20, 30 years ago to now, those same channels are still playing the same songs.
It is.
But for me, being younger and when the grunge movement came through, I was looking for something new. And there was nobody around here playing that newer music. They
Yeah,
constantly played the older stuff.
sure.
So for me, it was, you could say I got burnt out on it. I got tired of listening to it. I was looking for
Right.
something new. I didn't want to turn on a local radio station and hear the same songs by the same bands over and over and over. I was looking
Yeah.
for something new.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for to me,
So
that's how I got burnt out.
yeah, I get it. I get it. I think if you look at a band like great or like Pink Floyd, if you delve deeper into it and look at their older stuff and look at, you know, what they did besides the Big Ten the Billboard top 10.
Yeah.
They were weird. They were so beyond everybody else. So, which, my sister Jen turned me on to one of my favorite bands that I listen to so much to this day. It was probably one of the best concerts I've ever seen in my life, and that was The Cure, and that was 1993, and that was the Wish tour, which the Wish album has songs like Elise and Friday I'm in Love. And that album, to this day, I listen to it, I swear to God, once a week.
Really?
It's one of the best albums. The Cure is one of the best bands, I think. They're so underrated. It's that new wave
Mm-hmm.
English pop music that I love, that turned me on to punk. I love punk music. I love the Sex Pistols. I love the Clash. I love Black Flag. I love Bad Religion. All that stuff. It's just, it turned me on to all that kind of stuff, that English heavy, angst punk. It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Well, I completely agree, and that's that, like you said, new wave 80s music that was different than the traditional pop music that you might hear on the radio
Yeah.
in the 80s at the time. And it was
Yeah.
something different. So you're navigating and moving to something different. Cool. Now, I'm looking here at your list. We've hit on a lot of stuff so far off of your list, but there's a couple on here that, like, I personally have never heard of Lee Scratch Perry. Can you elaborate for me?
Oh yeah.
On who
Oh yeah. I'll elaborate
is?
all fucking night on that. Okay. Lee Scratch Perry. Lee Scratch Perry is from Jamaica. Lee Scratch Perry was the innovator. He is the equivalent of the Beatles when it comes to dub music, meaning using recordings of things to add to your music to make it sound weird or to make it sound cool. Okay. The Beatles were the innovators of that with their English, British invasion music. Okay. Especially with Sgt. Pepper's and Rubber Soul, the beginning of it. Lee Scratch Perry brought in these weird samples into reggae music that made it sound different than anything that ever came out before. Prior to him, it was very poppy, very like 50s and 60s soapbox, that whatever they call that thing, the soap, I don't know, dances or whatever.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like that real,
Bubblegum
Happy
type
Days
pop.
type shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. He brought in this weird like sound, and Lee Scratch Perry, like the best example of his stuff, one song called Roast Fish and Cornbread. It's the weirdest song and it sounds incredibly weird and I love it so much. But he brought all that into reggae music. And because of that, he became this giant producer. He's like the Dr. Dre of reggae, because all these big guys like Marley and Peter Tosh and Culture and the Burning Spear and all these different bands and all these different guys would come in and have him produce their records because he could make all that weird sounds, and he was just an awesome producer. And I have the highest respect for him. And he's still alive. He has purple hair. He smokes 5 pounds of weed a day. He's out of his mind. He's just a weird professor of music. And he's just the best. I think he's the best. And I kick myself for not being able to see him live. I've had a couple opportunities and I haven't been able to see him. So
now, how in the hell did you hear about him playing?
So,
like, where did this come from? Like, what? Like, like seriously, how the hell did you hear of Lee Scratch Perry in all this other genre of music you're listening to? Where did this guy come from?
Grateful Dead.
No shit.
Grateful Dead, man. If it wasn't for the Grateful Dead, I wouldn't have gone to huge music festivals where there were 5 different stages, 2 different tents. You got 2 tents playing bluegrass, hardcore bluegrass. You got 1 stage playing weird electronic English bullshit stuff. I don't know what you call it anymore. The electric house music. You got 1 stage doing hardcore reggae. You got 1 stage doing death metal. Like, if it wasn't for that kind of stuff, I wouldn't have been open up to it. But that's it, man. That's the common denominator. If it wasn't for the Grateful Dead, I would have never known about Lee Scratch Perry, who's by far, I mean, look him up. Please do.
Well, what's funny is I put his music on Spotify a couple hours ago before you and I sat down and started talking, and I played the first couple songs, and you can hear the reggae music in there, but I have never, ever, ever, ever heard of that guy until you put it on your list and said I want to talk about him.
Yeah. Yeah. Super important, man. Super important.
So to switch gears, there's a couple other ones on here. Whoever you want to talk about first, I don't care.
Okay.
You have down here Ray Charles,
Oh, yeah.
the White Stripes, Metallica, and Aerosmith. And Metallica,
Okay.
you and I, that's a common denominator. We can leave that for another episode. But
Okay.
up to you. Ray Charles, White Stripes, or Aerosmith, and why?
Okay. So Aerosmith only for the song Train. The song Train by Aerosmith, I think, is one of the greatest songs ever. Also, the song Tell Me What It Takes to Let You Go. They have a fucking accordion in it, man. It's one of the best songs I've ever heard in my life. Okay. But to go further, the White Stripes. Let me tell you a story about the White Stripes.
Tell me the story about the White Stripes. I think I know the
Okay.
story, but tell everybody else about the White Stripes, Tug.
Okay. 2001. 2001. I am a dishwasher at a restaurant in Athens, Ohio, one of the hippest places on the state of, in the country, as far as I'm concerned, as far as culture, music, everything. I had a buddy of mine. He's like, "Hey, listen, you should probably come down to the Union tonight and see this band. They're playing fourth of the night. They're the 4th ticket of the night."
Okay.
I'm like, all right. He's like, it's a brother and his sister from Detroit, and they sound pretty good. I'm like, okay. So we get there, we watch the first band, the second band, the third band, the fourth band. The fourth band is the White Stripes. So there's probably 8 people in this bar watching Jack White and Meg White, who are not brother and sister, by the way. They're just friends from Detroit.
With the same last name.
Yeah, but that's not, I don't think that's her real name.
Oh, okay.
Probably not his real last name anyway. It's just all, business. And they proceeded to fucking rock the joint for 6 people. I sat there and I'm like, this is 2 people playing this shit. Playing Jolene by Dolly Parton. Playing, just these songs that were just blowing my mind. The only song I knew was Jolene because I knew Dolly Parton from back in the day, country music, whatever. And I was like, these guys are incredible. That summer, I graduated. I moved home back to Boardman, and on fucking MTV Music Awards that night, that September, the White Stripes are playing the first song, and I can't think of the song right now, but I was like, dude, I just saw them in Athens, and they were the 4th act. Like, they were nobodies, man. They were nobodies.
That makes you wonder, like, who are the other 3 acts that played after them?
Like who are those people? You know what I mean? It was just the weirdest thing. I couldn't believe that I saw the same 2 people probably 5 months prior at a dive bar in Athens, Ohio. So I have a huge respect for Jack White. I think he's a historian for the music, for the traditional music, for rock and roll, for the basics of it. I have a highest respects for him. And the movie, It Might Get Loud. Have you seen that?
No, I have not.
Oh, you have to watch it. It's him, the Edge from U2, and what's his name from Led Zeppelin? Uh,
Is it Jimmy Page?
Jimmy Page. Thank you. Those three guys just totally explaining how they play music and how they play guitars and they play each other's riffs and stuff. It's really amazing. You should watch it. You would
Okay.
love it.
I'll have to check it out, man.
So that's that. Those are the bands. Aerosmith. I think Aerosmith is like that one band that it went beyond that whole hair band thing. They were just a good rock band. They just one song after another was so good. And to this day, I think that's the hair band that I like, I
Yeah,
guess.
to me, they definitely teetered on that hair band or a classic hard rock band
Yeah.
because of Steven Tyler.
Yeah.
Definitely was teetering with his microphone stand and all the garb that he would wear and everything else. And
Right. And poppy, but it
yes,
was still hard and good and still like basic good rock and roll. I have a lot of respect for Aerosmith.
so where does Ray Charles fit in your mix of music that you have here?
So, Ray Charles, I love blues music. I love jazz. Ray Charles is the man. Um, it's just the most purest form of, I don't know, man, just soul music. Uh, Again, the Dead opened me up to these guys, these African American um, people who produced awesome music. But Ray Charles, and then like after watching the movie about how he grew up and stuff with Jamie Foxx, just have mad respect for the guy. And then he took it. He took being the man and like the master of blues, and he went fucking country. He wrote a country album that blew people's minds. Okay. And him and Willie Nelson did Seven Spanish Angels, I think it is. I might be missing that name, that title. And just, it was like, what? Like, you're writing a country album? And it's just so good and so spot on. Like, that's what I'm talking about. You don't have to be the same thing every day. You don't have to be the same type of genre of music over and over and over and over. You can warp and get weird. And that's what the Dead did, man. They didn't do just rock and roll. They did everything. Country, reggae, folk, rock and roll, jazz. They did it all. So that's what I like about, Ray Charles. He mixed it up.
That's cool. So, I take it that you're a Grateful Dead fan, Tug.
Uh-huh. Just a little bit.
You want to play some music trivia about the Grateful Dead?
Oh, bring it.
All right. Like I said, some of these questions for you might be very easy, but for somebody like me, they might be kind of hard. So,
All right.
let's see if I can stump you here a little bit.
Okay. Put my glasses on.
Uh-oh. Now you're getting serious. Let me see here. Jerry Garcia was an unlikely lead guitarist due to what loss?
His middle finger. That unfortunately his brother cut off when they were chopping wood when he was, I believe, 12 years old.
Very good. Okay. Let's see here. See, a lot of these questions on here like about lyrics and stuff.
All right, bring it.
How many times was Jerry Garcia court-martialed while he was in the U.S. Army?
I believe once, because he went AWOL and tried to escape. But that I don't know how many times he was court-martialed, but I know he was kicked out because he went AWOL.
The correct answer is 2, according to this.
Okay.
He was in the Army for 9 months, being discharged in 1960. He was stationed in San Francisco and was court-martialed twice. He was also AWOL 8 times.
Yeah, there you go.
Um, in which year? See, this isn't right. It says, in which year did the Grateful Dead play their last New Year's Eve concert? That's kind of a hard one.
1978 at Winterland.
Their last New Year's Eve concert?
Well, last New Year's Eve, I'm thinking of Winterland when they closed the Winterland. I would have to say maybe 89 or 90.
You're close. 1991.
Okay.
Where was the Grateful Dead's first show in Europe ever played?
Well, that was Europe 72. It's a pretty famous album. Their first show, I don't know. I should know, but I would guess it's probably Denmark.
Newcastle, England.
Okay. Yeah. That's a tough one, Ron. You're going deep there, buddy.
No. This says on here, this is an easy one. What drug is mentioned in the song Casey Jones?
Cocaine, baby.
Speaking of that Europe 1972 album, what's the missing word from the song? It's called Brown Eyed what?
Brown-eyed women in red grenadine. There you go.
Very good. Let's see if I can come up with another one or two on here.
This is great. I love it.
The narrator of which Grateful Dead song tells a title character to settle down easy?
Settle down easy. Bum, bum, bum. Ramble on, Rose.
Very good, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm impressed by that one. You've already mentioned this, but we'll ask the question anyway. Though the band played continuously for 30 years, they only produced one top 40 Billboard Top 100 hit in the United States. Can you name that song?
That's A Touch of Grey.
Very good.
Probably the most famous MTV song they've ever had. So.
And that's the one that I remember.
Of course.
Because
it's such a good song.
It's a good song. It was on MTV, but then all the band members were skeletons.
They were skeletons. They were like marionettes, and they turned from skeletons to real people. It was a great video. Awesome song.
What was the last?
We will get by. It's very relevant to this day. We will get by. We will survive.
We hope.
Yep.
What was the last song ever to be played by the Grateful Dead in concert?
Oh, Ron, I should know this.
It should because
obviously be in Chicago. It was Chicago of '95.
Correct.
I want to say it was So Many Roads.
It was Box of Rain.
Oh my God, Box of Rain, sung by Phil Lesh, who that's one of two songs that he only sang live. That's incredible. So no, wait. So was that 1995 or was that 2010?
It says on here, July 9th, 1995 was the last show that the Grateful Dead ever did because Jerry Garcia died shortly after.
Okay. That's incredible. I didn't know that. And that song, they never played Box of Rain. That's off Working Man's Dead. It's one of the greatest songs they ever wrote. It's beautiful. And Phil Lesh, the bass player, who's an awesome guy, who never played bass in his life. Jerry taught him how to play bass. He knew how to write classical music. That's all he knew how to do. And Jerry's like, I want you in my band. I'm going to teach you how to play bass. And that was one of the two songs that he would sing. So go ahead.
Cool. I'll throw one more at you.
All right.
What was the name of the first official Grateful Dead fan club?
Fan club.
What was the name of the first official Grateful Dead fan club?
So the first band was Mother McCree's Uptown Jugtown Band. Second band was the Warlocks. And then it was the Grateful Dead.
First official Grateful Dead fan club. What was the name of that?
I don't know.
The answer is The Golden Road to Unlimited Devotion.
Yeah,
How
that's a
about
song.
this? It was it was founded in 1965, and the cost of joining was just $1.
Nice.
And then
Nice.
the song "The Golden Road to Unlimited Devotion," which appeared on the band's first
Yep.
album, was the name for their fan club. How about that?
Gotcha.
Cool.
Didn't know that one. That's a good one.
So before we wrap things up, I know you wanted to touch a little bit about some stuff that you have going on in your personal life as far as businesses and a little kind gesture that happened over the holidays. Would you like to elaborate on either one of those, sir?
Yeah. So one of the cool things about working for Subaru is Subaru has a conscience. Subaru is a giant brand on the East Coast and in the Colorado and California area, which has a giant amount of Grateful Dead fans, Deadheads. If you've ever been to a Deadhead or a Grateful Dead show, the official car of a Grateful Dead show is a Subaru, believe it or not. Second foremost, Volvo. But with having that conscious, Subaru has a great thing called Share the Love,
Okay.
which from November 17th to January 4th this year, if you bought a new car, we would donate $250 on your behalf to one of 5 charities. And all those charities are very worthwhile. They're very humanitarian. They're very compassionate. And that is something that I believe in strongly with today's day and age. So I'm not going to sit here and try to sell, but if you, yeah, I'm not going to try to sell. So the Anonymous Army.
What is this Anonymous Army? I've
So
heard
the
about
Anonymous Army is a group of people anonymously, besides me talking about it, who have decided to donate their money towards random acts of kindness to people that really probably need it. And there's another Facebook group that I'm affiliated with, and we're called the Pacifists, the Fight Club for Pacifists. And we don't talk about our Fight Club. We don't talk about it. We don't speak about it. But people email us and say, "Hey, if I don't get $200, my electric's going to get turned off," or "I need $600 for my kid's insulin." And we find ways to make that happen.
That's really cool.
And I take it personal. There's a lot of people out there that don't have the means to make certain little things happen. And those little things to us are easy, but But to them, it's do or die. It's things like insulin. It's like prescriptions. It's the electric bill. It's, a mortgage payment or a rent payment. And if they reach out to me or my cohorts, we're going to make it happen.
That's really cool. I know you talked to Jennifer and I over the holidays about some of that stuff that you were doing, and we were happy to donate a little bit towards your cause and help you out with that. But I do want to say that what you did with that, with the anonymous army thing, that's really cool. That shows what a type of person that you are and how you care about mankind, how you care about other human beings. And that speaks volumes of you and your character.
Thank you.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
Well, brother, I appreciate your time tonight. This has been fantastic, man. I'm sure that you and I could probably throw back a few more drinks here and talk for a couple more hours, but I got a birthday boy in the next room and wants to have his birthday cake, and it's after 9:00 at night here, and he hasn't had a birthday cake yet. So
happy birthday, Aaron.
That's right. Happy birthday to my son, Aaron, turning 14 today. Man,
beautiful.
He's bigger than me. He's not as fast or strong as me, but he's bigger than me, and he's going to start kicking my ass here pretty soon, Tug. I'm going to have to keep hanging with him, or I'm going to be in trouble here real soon.
Yep. He's going to be a hell of a center. You wait.
I hope so.
Yep.
Big things for his future. I hope it holds big things for his future. So
it will.
All right, Tug Sanner, I appreciate your time tonight. Thanks for jumping on my Music Spectrum podcast. And please tell your wife and your beautiful kids I said hello. And if you would like to, I would definitely love to do this again with you.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. There's so many things we haven't even gone down yet, man.
Hell no. We didn't even talk about my band Metallica or anything like that. Like, what the hell?
Oh, yeah. Metallica, speed metal, death metal, punk rock, in hip hop, dude, Beastie Boys, old school hip hop, rap. I'm in.
Hey, episode 2 with you, or round 2, whatever the hell you want to call it. We'll do it. All right.
All right, dude.
All right, guys. This is Ron Glista signing off from my Music Spectrum podcast. Thanks for checking me out. Make sure you check out all the different platforms. You can listen to my Music Spectrum podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I have a Facebook page. Check all those out and check out my next podcast. I'll make sure I broadcast it out and put it all over social media. So look forward to seeing that. Thanks again, Tug Sanner, for joining me tonight. And everybody, have a great night. Thank you.
Peace.